It's been said a bard's life can often be a hard life, or hill and dale to rove and always move from town to town. And some folk have inquired if ever we grow tired of ranging all around the world and never settling down.
But one should be a little wary of remaining stationary, 'cause comfortable is lovely, but it's not the way we grow. When life starts to unravel, pick up your pack and travel. You'll find a strange serenity in places you don't know. Wriggle-dee-dum-dee-doo-rat-terry-o-dee. There's so much to see beyond the open door. It's outward bound we go. Who knows what we'll find that we've never found before. Adventures waiting further down the road. It's waiting for you further down the road. You've got no map for showing which direction you are going.
But why start on a journey if you know where it will end?
And once you recognize,
to anticipate surprise, you'll relish every twist and turn that lies around the bend. Wriggle-dee-dum-dee-doo-rat-terry-o-dee-da-dee-da-dee. There's so much to see beyond the open door. It's outward bound we go. Who knows what we'll find that we've never found before. Adventures waiting further down the road. It's waiting for you further down the road. Lie-da-lie-da-lie-da-lie-da-lie. Lie-da-lie-da-lie-da-lie. Lie-da-da-lie-da-lie-da-lie-da-lie. La-da-da-lie-da-lie-da-lie. La-da-da-lie-da-lie-da-lie. The world has got its demons. There are many reasons why you'd find it harder to be brave than be afraid. But every life could use some danger. Every friend was once a stranger. Ships are safe in harbor, but that's not why ships are made.
Wriggle-dee-dum-dee-doo-rat-terry-o-dee. Dee, a fwit-dee-dee-dee-dee. There's so much to see beyond the open door. It's outward bound we go. Who knows what we'll find that we've never found before. Adventures waiting further down the road. It's waiting for you further down the road. Lie-da-lie-da-lie-da-lie-da-lie. Lie-da-lie-da-lie-da-lie. Lie-da-da-lie-da-lie-da-lie. La-da-da-da-da-lie-da-lie. Adventures waiting further down the road. Let's go! Lie-da-lie-da-lie-da-lie-da-lie. Lie-da-lie-da-lie-da-lie. Lie-da-lie-da-lie-da-lie-da-lie. La-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. La-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Hello, my friends. It is I, Madame Onça, and I'm your tarot reader here to join you on a special Halloween edition of our tarot show. Hope everybody's great. Happy holidays if you're into this sort of thing. And yeah, just glad to be here. We're a little bit bared down to the basics today here as far as equipment, because almost everything has gone with Paulo to Louisiana. So we're just we're working here with some basic stuff. Oh, I suppose I should open the comments. Greetings. Hi, Victorian London Fog. Sir David Percival. It is true. 'Tis an Onça. Hi, gang. So whatever shall we do today? So my thought was that I might actually do a reading for the channel for the year to come. But I'm also keen to hear how everybody's doing. If you have any questions or curiosities. Oh, the Krampus mugs came for Sir David Percival and Sally. Great. Thank you so much. And that is a great opportunity for me to point out what I got here. So if you don't already know, everybody, I'm Madame Onça. I am also Lady Thecla here in the channel, and I pop up and do a lot of logistical support for all of our various events. I'm also an artist, and I make things like this. If you order one of these Krampus mugs, it will come in this snazzy little box. Boop. And 'tis the season. I usually make Yuletide Monsters merch this time of year, so I'm going to start talking about that before we get to cards. And so these are the snazzy mugs that I made this year in partnership with our very own Mab Just Mab. It's that Krampus time of year, and let us sing and make merry. If you know about your Yuletide monsters, as you well may, if you are an old Nat 21 fam member. Of course, this is the Mari Lloyd is the name of this creature, which is essentially a singing ghost horse from the folk traditions of Wales. I really wanted to make it say, let us sing and make Mari, but I wasn't sure if everybody would get that. So make merry, but you and I both know that it's actually Mari. Yes, it is my pleasure to be Nat 21's cryptid enabler. Hey, how you doing, Heathen Alchemist? Good, I'm glad you love yours. Oh, you couldn't get a mug this year. Well, let us know when we're coming out to you. Maybe we can bring one sometime when we're out on the West Coast. Victorian London fog. I gotcha. So for folks that do want to grab these, we've got them in, they're all white because that's the way that we make them. But they come in black, red, or green for the holidays. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about other cryptid merch because I actually have a little bit of a super glue hangover this morning from being in the merch making mines last night. For real? For real? What's the question, Victorian London Fog? Because literally, I have been working on a creative project also with our own Nina Lee, because she's got some other kind of fancy equipment. Some of you guys saw pictures of prototypes of these, but I'm actually making them. I have been hard at work gluing. You can hardly tell in this light, but this is painted gold, and this is the Yule cat from Iceland, Jólakötturinn. It's on green, lovely green. You can't really tell there because of all this ambient lighting. Here's an example of the jackalope. Promise we'll get to tarot in no time. Boop. There's our little jackalope. That one's on a yellow background. This is, and these are all either, the surface is either silver, gold, or neutral wood. Oh yeah, Victorian London Fog bringing you a mug. Of course. I mean, if shipping is the issue or whatever, yeah, just like let us know. Hi there. Hey, just some guy. So these are all gold, silver, or wood. There's the Bigfoot, the Sasquatch for the holidays. My original vision was that they would all have translucent, be backed with the translucent materials so that they would look more like stained glass windows, but we're still troubleshooting the materials that are available. So a couple of them actually have an opaque background, but hopefully they still hit that vibe. There's the Yule Bok, which of course is the one of these sacred winter beasts from up in the Nordlands. And then here's the Mari Lloyd again. This one's on blue, kind of hard to tell. I've just got a few more. There's the Loch Ness Monster. Some of you, if you have ever messed around with my advent calendars, you will recognize this little guy. This is actually modeled, of course, on the famous Nessie photo, which is called the surgeon photo or the doctor photo. Because the guy who actually shot that photo didn't want people to know he had a real job. Okay. This one is the bonfire. This one is, of course, my favorite. This is my other boyfriend, the Mothman. And here's Krampus. And special for my Nat 21 folks, of course, we have the Jawsus, our Yuletide cryptid. There you see him with his big halo. So says the Nessie ornament cost $3.50. That must be some joke I don't get. Please explain in the comments, just some guy. I want to understand everything. Okay, so I've been making all of those. Nina Lee sent me all of the. I gave her the art. Praise Jazus. Oh, it's a South Park joke. See, I kind of don't get the South Park stuff. I have to have it explained to me, because of course Polo loves it. Nina Lee made me. I gave her the art. She cut these things out. I am now in the assemblage phase. They will all be signed, and they're probably going to be like $15 a piece and available for a discount in sets. But I'm still working that detail out. I like to have these things worked out well before the holiday, but this year was not that year. So we're just figuring it out as we go along. Praise Jazus. So there's some stuff I made. Point needs the Jazus one, and you need the Krampus one. Oh, nice. Yes, here's the benefit to having multiple persona. You can get Halloween candy for you, yourself, and I, or mugs for your D&D character as well as yourself. So we're going to do a little bit of reading today. Again, if anybody has any questions about tarot stuff, I'm happy to talk about it. For folks that are interested in the neo-pagan notion of the Wheel of the Year, which is sort of it's an old visual of the year, of course, is almost being like a wheel with spokes, and we find ourselves with Samhain or Samhain or Halloween. We find ourselves on this axis right now. On this same wheel, you also find Yule, which is, of course, one of the old names for the winter holiday, which eventually in some cultures has become either Christmas or Kwanzaa or whatever. So some sort of Yuletide holiday. On this, we also, of course, find Beltane, the Mabon, the Midsummer, and all of this sort of traditional holidays for the pagan year. Today is a big one, and for some folks, it is the biggest one, because for folks that are predisposed to the woo-woo, I know that you folks who are good enough to show up, at least if not woo-woo yourselves, are woo-woo adjacent. Meaning you're willing to lean into the idea that there's such a thing as energy, and energy work matters and all that kind of stuff. If you like witchy stuff, then this is a big day, because of course this is the season. Not only are in this hemisphere, not only are the leaves dying back and a lot of life forces sort of being pulled back down into the earth, literally being grounded. It is a big time of harvest, both literally, like go out and get your stuff before it gets killed by the frost, and also sort of metaphorically for folks that maybe aren't tied into the agrarian life. But, for us, really harvest this last season has been about sort of bringing in all of the people and the resources and experiences that Maryland provided. And really now we're sort of gathering all of that in and getting everything prepped to go off on the next adventure. So we find ourselves here on the brink of All Hallows Eve. Halloween, Mab, of course, our own Mab, just Mab, has Mablandia, is in full Halloween swing. We don't really have the opportunity to do as much of that over here at Awesome Town because, frankly, we're just not home enough. But we carved some pumpkins. I usually make soul cakes, which are just basically muffins in a skull pan. And we usually set out like a kind of a Day of the Dead altar sort of thing in honor of all of our family, friends that have gone before. And of course, if you are somebody out there who, has pets, friends that go over the Rainbow Bridge, if you have chickens, if you deal with farm life, of course, inevitably there's a lot of loss of life as part of the churn. And so I usually try to honor that this time of year. With that in mind, for our live stream this morning, I brought up one of my candles that we keep up on the Day of the Dead altar. In fact, I think I saw it in the intro for this show. So we've got our Bastet and we've got our Anubis as sort of guardians of the world, the worlds. Why is Halloween so special from a tarot point of view? Because if you are woo-woo adjacent, or as who is it? Yes, somebody. Yes, Heathen Alchemist says, I do in fact love to ride the woo-woo train. For folks that are into that sort of thing, it is part of the folklore of our people that are into this day, that this is the time of year, as again, as the sap gets pulled down into the earth, as the harvest items come out of the field, this is also the season of the thinning of the veil between the worlds, which is just a fancy way of saying that it is a good time to reach out and think loving thoughts and memories of your beloved dead, and also to just sort of gaze into the future. We're about to go into this sort of metaphorical hibernation period with winter, and we look forward to think about what kind of year we are going to have. So that's what I figured we would use this thin veil day to pull some cards for the channel, and if we have time, I'll pull a few cards for other folks. Disclaimer: we have a wedding that we have to attend in a few hours, and so I don't have as much time to spend with you today as I would like, but I'm glad to be here. Let's check a couple of these comments. Is the tarot movie any good? I don't know about the tarot movie. I mean, I see tarot come up in a lot of movies, just some guy, but I don't actually know if there's a specific thing. I missed it. I used to host a dumb supper, but this year's schedule won't allow it, says Heathen Alchemist. By that, do you mean like literally a non-speaking supper, or just a supper that was a poor idea? Like, in what sense are you using that word? Lady Onça, do you still have chickens? We do. I would say 2 sets of arms would be great. They are assumed, however, that we're dealing with full-size birds at this point, because our old batch only worked when they were teenagers, and I had to pass them on to another chicken having family. So we have a Brahma Putna, which is a very big bird, and then most of our other birds are of sort of standard Rhode Island red size or Wyandotte size. So, a set or 2 of arms. I think that we liked the lobster arms particularly, were hilarious. And I think we had like crab claws or something like that. And the Hulk arms, also very funny. Let me see if I missed any other comments. I ought to get the Mothman ornament. Moffins need someone to look up to. Who's Moffins? And the admittedly pretentious state of the silent meal. Shared with thoughts and possibly spirits. Oh, I mean, that's cool, actually, Heathen Alchemist. The notion of a silent meal shared with thoughts and possibly spirits of the departed. I mean, whatever works for you, When we, as some of you know, when we bought this house here in Awesometown, Paula was doing some digging in the garden and found the tombstone of the son of the person who built this house. So, like, I try to think about that young man who apparently died in a paratrooper incident in Vietnam. Like, this was his house too. So we try to make some space for that. Victorian London Fog says, Moffins is my plushy baby Mothman. Aw. Dumb suppers highly suggested right before an election. Okay. Not sure what that means, but it sounds reasonable, both in a sensible way and in a snarky way. Okay, let's pull a few cards today. So I got to make some space over here because, again, everything is moved around. Charmingly, in this room, our live stream room, which you recognize from the backdrop, in the last 48 hours, we've had Charming Disaster stay here and also Shakespeare. So this room is full of the good vibes of the living. Okay. Just some guy says, I did work at a place that had a small graveyard in the parking lot. Cool. I assume you weren't working at like a Spirit of Halloween or something. I actually used to, this is going to sound crazy, I used to own some land in the country in North Carolina. I lived in a yurt, bought a bunch of acres out there, way out in Burnsville, which is actually one of the areas that was just devastated in Asheville. I bought some land out there, and it had the family plot of the previous owners was on my land. And so, the land was mine, but they had they had access. Part of the conditions of the sale was that they would always have access to the remains of their ancestors. So basically, almost like it's as if our land was a big oyster, and there was a long, like mile-long gravel road that you drove up into the mountain to get to my yurt. But in so doing, you passed by this little fenced-in, treed-in enclosure that had probably 30 graves in it of the family. So like a little pearl in the middle of the oyster of my place. Okay, are we gonna see me in NOLA? Yes, I shall be there. Will you be there? That's exciting. I'm a little out of the loop on it because we've had a lot going on. But yes, I will definitely be there. We are deep in the preparations for all of the next things that are happening. And then Victorian London Fog says, "Oh, I should post my local witchery shop's Halloween decor. Ooh, share pictures of it." Did the yurt survive? Well, I sold that land honestly, before the kids were born. So I used to live out there. And then when I actually made the transition to being a full-time entertainer, an hour commute down from the mountains for every gig no longer became sustainable. So I actually sold my place, and I have been wondering. It was, however, a long, as everything is in the mountains there. Think big mountain, everything is a ravine. Like we had a big pasture, but it was really just the lap of the mountain, right? So every bit of water that hit the side of that would have come pouring through there. We would have been, our yurt would surely have been carried away. I mean, the water would have been 20 feet over our heads. So I hope all the creatures, because we used to have flocks of turkeys and deer and all kinds of stuff. I hope all the creatures were able to get to high ground. That was really what I was thinking. I'm sure somebody built a condo or whatever where my yurt is now, because the mountains are full of sprawl. Anyway, I'm going to pull some cards for the channel. So if you want to get on the woo-woo train, and I have no idea what's gonna come up, but if you're on the woo-woo train, to just take a big deep breath in for me. And since we are all friends, and fan of Nat 21, take a big breath in and just think, what do we need to know right now about the year to come on Nat 21? I'm just shuffling. Woo-woo time. If you've ever worked with my particular tarot deck, the World Spirit, it is very big. I built it for myself. I never thought anybody else would ever see it. I never thought it would get out in the world. And it's so big, it's actually hard for me to shuffle. So right now, we are actually using the Gummy Bear Tarot, because it is teeny and tiny and still very functional. All right, friends, big breath in. I have no agenda here. I have no idea what the cards are going to do. I'm going to divide them in 3 piles, as is a tradition among tarot readers. I'm going to fan them out. I'm going to wish I had a bigger table, because this table is now covered in Krampus ornaments and witchy candles. I'm going to fan these out, and we're going to pull 5 cards. Let's see what we get. Here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to let you folks in the chat pick. I'm just going to slide my hand around, and the first 5 people that say pick, I'm going to pick the card my hand is on at that time. Let me make a little more room here. So starting, just sliding my hand around. Let me know, when should I pick a card? Pick. All right. Thank you, Sir David Percival. There's card number 1. Oh, all right. And now we've got Victorian London Fog. And now I've got Sally. Now I've got Heathen Alchemist. And see if we get one more here. All right. It looks like I've got 2 for David. All right. Here's our 5 cards. Let's see what we got, gang. I have no idea. Some of you may be familiar with the comedy that is the Gummy Bear Tarot. It's actually a great, and pick. John Caro, I'll pull one for you too. You see. With the delay and pick. All right, so there's our bonus one for John Caro. Okay, the Gummy Bear deck, it is a cartoon deck. It is based on the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, which is, of course, the most famous deck probably of all time, certainly of this century. And I have been using this deck. Weirdly, I've actually been teaching a tarot class for teenagers, and they all got to bring or pick their own deck, and this was the class favorite, probably because it does give them all of the traditional imagery, and then sort of the weight of history is behind it, but it is cartoons, so it's, not intimidating. So we pulled a bunch of cards for Nat 21 in the next year. Oh my God, just some guy. We need a Gummy Owl Bear deck. Yes, we do, please. Yes, we do. Wait till you see this art. It would lend itself very easily to a little bit more hulking shoulder and beak. The first thing I look for when I pull a bunch of cards, again, these cards are non-positional, which is to say, I didn't say, and this is the month of January and this is the month of March. I just pulled a whole bunch. This is what I call the dinner table approach. You pull a bunch of cards and get the vibe. Like, what is the conversation that seems to be had? So you look for an abundance of something. The first thing I see is we have an abundance of pentacles. We have an abundance of aces. We've got a 5, a 3, a 4, so we're sort of a cluster of numbers right around there. And let's see what John's card is, the 8 of Cups. Interesting. So we have a wand. We have 2 wands. We have 2 wands, 2 pentacles, and 2 cups. Wands in the tarot, of course, refer to our ability to get things done. It's going from having a cool idea to actually manifesting something. It's going from I drew the plans to I built the birdhouse. I have an idea for a business. I actually built the website and got the inventory. It's very much like how we get our hands in. So we see 2 pentacles here, and that those are about practicality in terms of money, resources. So we've got that, and cups are how we feel about it. So let's start over here. We've got the 5 of Wands. The 5 of Wands is the card of competition. So that's interesting. You can imagine, think about different ways that might be relevant for us in this community. It can be competition at its worst, which is breaking other people down, sort of going for the low blow. It can be competition at its best in the sense of like striving to hold ourselves to a higher standard and manifest, our best possible triple axle, that kind of thing. This image is traditionally, it is 5 figures appearing to be in some sort of a melee. And it is hard to tell from the faces on the humans as well as in these goofy gummy bears. It's hard to tell, how serious this is. Like, are they trying to beat each other to death with these sticks? Or is it more a matter of practicing your technique? So in the context of the channel for the year, I'm going to say that probably has something to do with us as a community. If we want to get the channel out there, it probably has to do with learning to level up on some of our, and literally in the competition of the noise of social media and all that kind of thing, just helping it to get out there. And, and of course, when you have a lot of strong personalities, literally reenacting or acting out battles, sometimes we need to move with care through the community in terms of how we navigate conflict if our goal is to help the channel grow, help the channel survive, help everyone have a good time, because that is what we're here for. So 5 of Wands, manifesting the practical components of essentially being competitive in a creative marketplace. That's how I would interpret that. Let's go over to our other Ace of Wands. We have another wand over here, which is the Ace. Boop. Bit phallic. Wands are fire in the tarot. They speak to passion. So we've got that. The Ace suggests starting a new chapter. So interestingly, we've got the 5 over here, which is like, keep it going, keep it going. The sort of the hubbub and roil of the games that we play, the diverse programming that we have, and the fact we're trying to be heard in a world full of content. We see all of that. But then the Ace of Wands, that's very much about starting something new. So I don't know if in our context, if that means a new show, if that means exploring a new approach to dealing with the platform. What is that? Sir David Percival says you also have the Patreon events and the fun competition between characters. Oh yeah, definitely. We're literally here to performatively fight, but in so doing, create a whole, not just an experience, but a whole world to play in, right? So the Ace of Wands and the 5 of Wands, between them, it seems to be like a certain amount of the struggle of leveling up and the reality of leveling up, like making choices about how we need to function in order to make this sustainable, for the community and for the creators. Because of course, as you can imagine, it takes a lot of work and commitment to do things like this. So there's our wands. Now we've got pentacles galore. Pentacles, once again, we have the Ace. So aces being about beginnings, pentacles being about resources. It's literally about it's about money, but it's also about energy and how much energy we put into the channel, how much energy it creates. So the Ace of Pentacles, aces are always kind of like a doorway, literally depicted as a doorway here. Aces are like you're standing on the edge of something, looking in and going, what is the new thing we're going to build? I don't know. But given that it's Pentacles, the question then becomes, is it a project? Is it a new project for the channel, or is it literally about how we try to figure out to make everything make the money it needs to make so that everybody can afford to participate and give you guys the best possible time? So a lot of aces, a lot of new energy for this new sort of neo-pagan year. Our other Pentacles card is the Fool of Pentacles. It's a very funny little card. This is traditionally the card of security. Lally ho, witches. Hello, Eveline. We're doing a reading for the channel today. So for this next year, since we're here in the edge of the year. So we're just talking about, we went through some wands and now we're talking about some pentacles. And Victorian London Fog says maybe something new is coming to the channel without any influence from the people already there. Yes, that totally could be it. I am very much have been thinking a lot about sitting with how we can provide more and how we can, really like many hands make light work, essentially. So Four of Pentacles, this card comes up around security. You can see, like, at best, he's kind of like, look at me and all the resources. Look at me and everything that I have been able to gather in. There can be a sense of careful and controlling stewardship. So this is like, when this card comes up, it suggests that you ask yourself, in the context of your question, which in this case is the sort of overall health of the channel for the year. It's really about like how we, again, time and resources, how we manage to make everything happen. Probably in our case, there's a practical component of 2 out of 3 of our computers have died in the last couple of weeks. So there's that aspect of like just taking care of business. If you want to run a channel, you need machines that run. So the Four of Pentacles is like, what are the resources that you need, that you use, and how can you take care of them in order to accomplish your goals? So this card is literally called security. Now we're going to jump on over to the Cups. Cups are relationality. They can be love and romance and so forth, but more than that, more broadly than that, they are really about how we are interconnected and how we as individuals are sort of our emotional health and availability for others. So we have 2, because we've got 1 in the initial spread here that was picked by our first 5. And then we've got the bonus card, the volunteer, that was picked by John Caro. So we've got the 3 of Cups. The 3 of Cups. Okay. Tarot aside, I just want to point out it's very funny that they decided to clarify the gender of the gummy bears by giving them gummy breasts, as if gummy bears were somehow gendered. I mean, the gummy bears are like less gendered than Ken and Barbie, right? They're just little blobs. So it's very funny to me that they decided to give these ones breasts. The reasons that they did that, of course, and of course, I suppose bears would actually have nipples all the way down, right? They probably have, I don't know, maybe 8 nipples. I don't know how many actually bears have, but they probably have more than 2. Victorian and London Fog says she's had work done. Well, good for her. Good if she could afford it. The 3, the reason that they bothered to sort of feminize the presentation of these gummy bears in a what even is gender if you're made of candy world is because this card has an aspect generally of growing community. But there is specifically an aspect mentioned in this card of the fellowship of women. Like, this is the card, like, literally of secret societies of women. On a poetic level, you can think of it as 1 cup, the ace, speaks to the potential for relationship and connection. 2 is the infant realizing that they are not the whole universe, that other people are real. And then we grow into relationship with our parents, our families, our communities, whatever the sort of most immediate people around us are, that we practice our social skills for the rest of our life. That's the sense of that we exist and then other people exist. You get to the 3 of Cups. 3 is, again, it's sort of more than just the notion of an expanded sense of the family unit, like being part of a community. So when this card comes up, its advice is break bread with other people, take time to get to know other people, expand your circles beyond the sort of immediate. I know coming out of COVID, a lot of us, our worlds got shrunk to the very smallest, and we haven't all gotten out of that sort of constricted version of our lives. So this card is a reminder to, in whatever way feels safe and good for you, to expand the circle of your life. So Three of Cups is very much about connecting with folks outside your head, maybe outside your house. What's else in the comments? We have our favorite gummy bear bard. Aww. Some of the original gummy bears were thought to have breasts because the actual mold wrinkled. It was too thin, if I remember correctly. Really? Oh, that's awesome. Well, I mean, if we've learned anything from just some guy, it's that, you can make a gummy bear into anything you need it to be. Three bears, one cup. Well, these three bears, to be fair, do have three cups. But yes, if the cup is sort of one cup of fellowship, yes, we all got one cup. So a couple of things come to my mind. I mean, one, obviously, we just want, as a community, we want to continue to expand the feeling of, of like belonging and caring and having things be personal and warm, because we do have a modest sized community. We could still really have that kind of connection. I'm excited to see each and every one of your names appear in the chat, right? Because there's not 12,000 of us. I can actually have that. So there's a sense of expansion there. But also I want to say that it is an ongoing conversation that we have around wanting to continue to have more femme presenting dungeon masters, more diversity, that sort of thing, so that the channel reflects the world we actually live in. And so for me, there's a little nod here of like expanding the circle of femme presenting people in our world. So it's not just men with beards and their wives and girlfriends. Not that it's just that, but it's important to me that we continue to invite other people to the table. Why did I not spend my life playing Dungeons and Dragons? Because D&D was a mean boy thing. It wasn't a party I was invited to, even as a tomboy. Now, of course, I'm marinating in it full time, so it all worked out in the long run. But not everybody has that experience. Victorian London Fox says, "Here's a health to the gummy bears and one to my lass." Oh, that's so cute. Let us drink and be merry, all out of one glass. Our parts are made of gummy, so we've got breasts and anyway. The last card that I pulled. So when you do a reading, if you get an extra card, a sort of a bonus card, sometimes it will literally fall out of the deck. You'll go to pull a card, and a second one comes with it. We colloquially call that a volunteer. So we're going to treat John's extra card here as the volunteer. You can imagine if these 5 cards are the 5 friends you've invited over and said, "What do you think's coming up for Nat 21 this year?" That other one is the friend who pokes their head in the door and goes, "Da-da, da-da. One more thing. Here's a thought." So interestingly, these ones are all very small numbers. It's ace, 3, 4, 5, all in the sort of lower half of the numbers, which metaphorically speaking usually means that we're talking about the beginning stages of things, rather than if you got all 10s and everything is turning into compost and you're probably in the late stages of your project. This one is an 8. We have the 8 of Cups, giving us, once again, 2 wands, 2 pentacles, and 2 cups. So this is the card of the vision quest. When we get the 8 of Cups, it usually means that for us as people, as individuals, rather than organizations, it usually means that you are able to have enough perspective and wisdom on your life, because by the time you get to the 8, you have lived through some shit. By this card, you can look back at your life and say, is everything accounted for? Is everything I thought needed to be here? Is there anything I need to address? And more particularly, is there anything missing? I secretly think of this card sometimes as the card of the phantom limb. Perhaps you've heard of the phenomena, somebody loses a limb and they can still somehow feel it, even though physically, visibly, it's no longer there, but like the sensation, the neural pathways are still there. This card is kind of like that. I'll hold the art up again so you can look, but the way that it is drawn, there's a clear sense of there's a space here for a cup that has not yet arrived or perhaps has been misplaced. And then we see the figure striding off. So that is I've had this card come up for folks who literally felt a strong call to go on a vision quest, whether that meant, in a crisis of faith, whether that meant go to do some ayahuasca stuff in Peru. I've had it come up for folks that were like, I described this and how there's a sense of something missing in your life and you're going off on a journey. You're not quite sure what you're looking for, but you know that you must go find it and address this need. So in describing that to somebody, I had them go, I'm actually about to tell my family I'm leaving my job and going to divinity school. So there's a real sense here of setting off on a journey. It could almost be like a gap year for somebody, like a strong sense of, I'm like literally a gap. I'm not sure what is missing, but perhaps I need to go explore the world and find out. So the Eight of Cups invites you in the realm of emotions and relationality to figure out what is your unmet need, not in a mad, sad, bad way, but in a glad, adventuring quest way. And I would say, actually, on the note of adventurers, of all of these cards, we see people. They're singing in the pub, as it were. We see them sitting in the treasury with their loot. We see them brawling here in this melee. But in a way, this card, the Eight of Cups, to me most neatly sums up what we do here, in the sense of it is the card of the quest. It's literally the card of the adventurer who's like, I can see what's here. I feel like there is more adventure to be had. Let me set off towards the dark horizon and see what I can see. They even have their walking stick, right? So there's this very much a sense of quest in these cards. So having said all of that, card by card, this is how I usually like to read. I like to, describe what each card has to say, and then we imagine how they might synthesize together. If anybody has any thoughts, love to hear it in the chat. But I'm getting a strong sense from the cards for us for the year. There's a lot of new ground. There's new ground to be broken. There are new adventures to be had. There's some kind of taking care of business, practically speaking, in terms of like how we manage the practical realms of managing the financial component of the channel so that everybody can continue to participate, and how we manage the outreach part of it, and how we manage the interpersonal components in the best possible way, so that we can all enjoy creative chaos rather than just have things be chaotic. And then again, there's this strong aspect of expanding the community circle and trying to figure out what the wild card is. What is the unmet need? What is the piece that we want to add? Now I'm going to jump over here in the chat and see what everybody else says. Victorian London Fog says chaos and nonsense adventures. Well, yes, there's definitely that. Sir David Percival adds, I can see the vision quest as something like an older character such as Romulus or Ayala coming back and telling the tale of their journeys since we last met them. Oh, I would love that. That is a brilliant idea, Sir David Percival, and I will be sure to pass it along. Heathen Alchemist has no major cards, so it's all well within our control, which is kind of nice. Interesting that the new stuff theme was repeated in triplicity. Yeah, that's a very good point. And so to speak to that question about the majors, as some of you may know, if you have been with us for a while, when you get major cards, those are the ones that tend to be like, the Lovers, the Death card, Justice, cards that have a title rather than a number. Those cards tend to be more about big life things coming our way, and really all we get to do is decide how we deal with them. These are all cards that describe more kind of day-to-day life. I call them, laundry lists. Laundry list cards. It's really more like, and how will we cope with things today? And what is in our Trello or our Slack for work today? They're much more day-to-day questions. Quad Kevin says, tarot, yay. Hey, Quad Kevin, how are you? Hope you're doing great. quick recap here was that we were just doing a reading for Nat 21 for the year. So somebody who's a better archivist than me, I hope will jot down these cards specifically so we can check back next year and see how things played out. It won't be me because I am going to be wrapping this up to go to this family wedding. But the cards that we got were the Five of Wands, creative conflict, competition at its best and worst. Three of Cups, an expanding sense of community, particularly the companionship of women, but very much about breaking bread and spending time with people in our community. The Ace of Pentacles and the Ace of Wands, those, that was our Three of Cups. The Ace of Pentacles and the Ace of Wands, both cards of new beginnings. Pentacles is really about projects, money. It's like literally like planting the seeds for garden. The Ace of Wands is about fanning the fires of creativity to get things moving and manifested. Our Four of Pentacles is stewardship of resources, practicality. At best, it's thrift. At worst, it's grift. But it's very much about like how we make something stable and sustainable. And then that Eight of Cups, that was our volunteer, our bonus card, our wild card that asked us to consider basically what we hadn't considered. What is the missing piece? That Eight of Cups. So yeah, jot all those down. Thanks, Squad Kevin. If you can make a note, somebody put it in your phone and make an alarm for next year to talk about it. I can't wait to see how we did. You will find if you work with cards in the regular, again, you have to allow for a certain amount of woo in your life for tarot to be really rewarding. But if you allow for that idea that these cards can give you some inspiration, it'll be interesting to see how things play out. Because 6 months from now, we might be like, oh, we're in such a Five of Wands scheduling strife, part. And then another part, we might be like, ooh, everything is like, like it really feels like we're having a great creative bloom right now. It must be a real Ace of Wands moment. Over the course of the year, we may see, yes, this time next year, Quad Kevin, this time next year, we may look back on this with this particular reading, since it is for us as a community right here at Nat 21 right now. Be very interesting to see how it plays out. And oh yes, Heathen Alchemist says, I'm really curious to see if I pull runes and they say the same thing. Yes, that's the whole scientific method, man. Try different things and see how our results pan out. So, and now if for anyone who hadn't seen it before, you got to look at the Gummy Bear Tarot, which I do recommend highly for anybody with a sense of humor and small pockets and budgets, because it is a very small deck that is $20 and fits easily in you can use it in your airplane tray. Ask me how I know. Whereas some of these other big decks and kits and sets are very nice, but they are for studio use. They are not easily transportable. So I think that'll have to be us for the day. Again, I am Madame Onça. I am your tarot reader. It has been my pleasure to spend some time with you in the Halloween edition today. I've got to go tie bow ties on kids and try to get everybody ready for this wedding. I'm going to blow out this candle that we lit for our dearly departed right there. And because even if you have an altar at home, you should not leave your candles burning when you're not there to supervise them. And if anybody needs any of my crazy Krampus stuff, I'll be getting it together to put the ornaments on sale soon. And you can, of course, buy the mugs from Mab's Mobile Mercantile. Happy Halloween, everybody. And let me see if I can remember how to sign off. Talk to you later. Bye.